Very good morning to you, Mr. Osborne. And let's just get clear what you're proposing here. This is about a 2% increase in public spending for 3 years.
That's right. It means that the Conservatives will be spending the same as the Labour Party, although we hope to spend it a great deal better. And people will therefore have a reassurance that if there is a Conservative government, and there's a lot of speculation about elections, if there is a Conservative government, there will be real increases in spending on health, spending on education, so that people who listen to this programme, who depend on their local hospitals, who depend on their local GP services, who depend on their local state school, know that under a Conservative government those services would not be cut. Indeed, the money would increase that goes to them.
So a clear message to the Tory faithful who still linger after some pledge about tax cuts. That's just not going to happen.
Well, we're not going to offer upfront promises of tax cuts at the general election. For a start, people have heard those promises before from politicians, and unless you have a stable economy, you can't deliver lower taxes over time. And second of all, we will at the election offer some tax reductions, but these will be matched by tax rises elsewhere. We're basically going to shift taxes away from the taxes you pay on your income more towards the taxes you pay on pollution, and that will be done in a completely open and transparent way. But the overall picture is that we won't be offering at the election a reduction in tax.
OK, let's just pick up on that, but further down the line. And can I just ask you about the 2% on public spending? Is that a ceiling? If the economy grows better than you expected, could more be put into public spending, or is 2% the limit and the rest would then be used for income tax cuts or something like that?
Well, the 2% a year increase is what we think is affordable because at the moment, sadly, the public finances are in a mess. We've got the worst public finances in Europe, believe it or not, worse even than Italy. So 2% a year is what we believe is affordable. It is slower than the growth rate of the economy. Indeed, we are sharing the proceeds of growth, which you've heard me and David Cameron talking about for the last 2 years. It's entirely consistent with that approach. And, of course, we'll keep things under review beyond this spending period. But I'm setting out the plan so that people can work on the assumption that if there is a Conservative government, spending will increase 2% a year from next year onwards.
Have you been panicked into this, as Alistair Darling is suggesting, because you think there's potentially a general election around the corner?
Well, none the least. For a start, I think people who've listened to me over the last 2 years can have seen the sort of logical progression towards this. We've made our commitment to the public services clear. David Cameron has campaigned on the NHS. I've said over a year ago there won't be upfront promises of tax cuts. So this has been a long-term plan of ours. And as for panicking about elections, it's the Labour government who every day produce some story saying the election's on, the election's off. I think most people listening to them will say, get on with governing. If you're going to have an election, and by the way, we're happy for an election to be called, and indeed things seem to be moving in our direction again at the end of the summer, then call the election. But if you're not going to call the election, stop fussing about it, stop spinning to papers about it, and get on with actually trying to sort out the problems in our hospitals and our schools that people in this country want sorted out.